Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be building a date or dating app, and this is what the build looks like. Here we have a welcome screen that has this cool icon right here, and it has this text and also this button which takes us to the home screen. And by the way guys, this design was inspired by a dribble design, and I'm going to be leaving the link for the design in the description box below. And after that big shout out, I'm going to click on get started to see our home screen. So if I click on get started, you're going to see our wonderful home screen. This is basically showing all different dates that we have in our app. As you can see, James Smith right here. So the next thing you're going to do is just scroll through all the dates that we have and their images. And you're going to see that this component is going to fade in gradually. If it is not active on the screen right now, you will not see the image and the focus will not be on the image. And that is coming from a cool component from snap carousel and flat list, so that is good for optimization. Also, we have this header right here which is basically not doing anything. It is just showing a full information or little information about our app, and this is showing the profile image. By the way, the next thing we have here is the chart section, and if you click on the chart, you're going to see this matches section right here, which is basically the matches that you probably have matched before, just like a normal dating app. And here you have a text input section, a search area. No functionality is here, and the main cool functionality that we have here is our chat area. And as you can see, we have all these cool charts. The first thing is the person you're chatting with, their image, their name, and their age. And also this cool icon which shows if they are online or they are not. And if you select each of these charts, you're going to see the full chat information between you and the specific user you're chatting with or the date you're searching with. And if you click on each of these charts, you're going to see the date you are chatting with and the information about that. So if you click on this, you're going to see your chats with them. Hi there, how is it going? Just like you have in your normal WhatsApp and Instagram and Telegram, and you have their messages on the left right here. You're going to learn a lot about CSS styling and how to perform all of this. You also have this bottom section and also this send icon. No functionality is here at all. So if I click on back, and if you click on basket, you also see the charts that I have with basket, and these are basically just dummy datas. And if you want me to create a full stack development for that using a live chat application and also Sockets IO and all these cool messaging platform and frameworks, you can like this video and also drop a comment in the comment section, so I'll teach you how to build a full stack app for this. So you can even scroll up and see all the messages that we have, and if you go back, the same applies to all the charts as well. All messages are unique, and this is pretty cool. So the last feature we have on our app is the profile, and this profile section is basically showing our profile image, our name, our age, our hobbies, and our bio and all. And this is what we'll be creating for today. If you're excited about this build, please give this video a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe and drop your comment in the comment section below of what you want me to create next, and I'm going to definitely create it. So without further delay, let's jump into building this cool dating app for today. So let's do that right now. So first things first, we're going to have a folder created in our desktop directory. We're going to call this dates app, and we're just going to drop this folder inside the Visual Studio Code, and we're just going to bring this right here. So this is Visual Studio Code, and this is the virtual device we're going to be using for our development today. Next thing we're going to do is install React Native and other packages that we need to run this beautiful app. So we're just going to head back to our browser, and on reactnative.dev, you are going to click on the first one, which is setting up the development environment on the sidebar right here. And when you scroll up, you're going to find two options here. In our own case, we're going to be installing React Native using Expo because this is very fast and it is going to help us be able to see our app on both iOS and Android. So we're just going to select or copy this command, or let me just copy this by the way, and head back to my terminal, and I'm going to click on these three dots, go to terminal, create a new terminal, and I'm going to just paste this code right here, and I'm just going to remove this awesome project and replace this with date, and I'm just going to click on enter, and this is going to install my React Native app. So while this is installing, we're going to head back to our browser, and the next thing we are going to install is React Navigation. This is going to help us be able to and do the different navigation in our app. That is, if you have a welcome screen, we have a home screen and all that. This is going to help us and do all the navigation in our app. And once you enter the website, you're going to click on get started. And when you scroll up, all you have to do is just copy this command right here and you're going to install it. And after installing that, you're going to install the React Native safe area context as well, which will make sure that our app stays in a safe area on all devices, irrespective of all the devices that we're using. And let's just head back to our terminal and check the progress of this. It seems it's still installing. Let's just give this a second or a minute to install, and this will depend on how fast your internet connection is. And once this is installed, I'm just going to come back to this. So after this has been installed, we're just going to go into our project by saying cd date, click on enter, and inside of this folder is where we're going to install all the packages that we want to install. And if you check the package.json, you're going to see right here under dependencies, you have just Expo, Expo status bar, React and React Native. And this is what this command installed for us, which is npx create expo update. And the next thing we want to install is the React navigation native. But let's just copy this, head back to our terminal and paste this code right here. Make sure that you cd into this folder because we really need to do that. Click on enter, and this is going to install React navigation native. Let's head back to our browser again and scroll up. Like I said, we're going to be installing this as well. So let's just copy this, head back to our IDE, our Visual Studio Code, and let's just let this install as well. And once it's installed, you're going to see that right here. As you can see, React navigation native. Next, we are going to install. Let's just paste this command, click on enter, and you're going to see it also right here in a second or two. So let's just bring this up also, and let's just head back to our terminal or browser instead. And that is all we need to install on this screen. Now if you go back to the side screen here, you're going to click on navigator, and this navigator we're going to be installing two things. The first thing being native stack, and the second thing being bottom tabs, because that is how our navigation in our app looks like. We have the native stack, and we're going to scroll up and we're going to copy this command right here to install native stack navigator. So let's just head back to our code, and this has been installed. Paste this as well, click on enter, and let's just head back to our browser. And that is all we need to install in the React navigation native. You can see the documentation on how to set it up properly and use it. So in the bottom tabs as well, we're just going to scroll up and you can see what the bottom tabs look like. So we're just going to copy this, and we're just going to head back into our terminal, and this has been installed as well. Let's just paste this, click on enter, and this is going to install that as well. So let's just head back to our browser. Next thing we want to install is the Tailwind CSS. And to install Tailwind CSS on a React Native project, you need Native Wind, and that will help us undo all that. So we're just going to copy this. If you go to nativewind.dev, on the sidebar here, you're going to click on Expo, and you're going to follow this command. We've already set up an Expo app, so we don't need to do this again. And we already cd into our app. All we have to do is just copy this, head back to our terminal, and we're going to type npm I, and we're going to paste native wind right here. You can as well type it if you want to. So click on enter, and this will install native wind for you. Let's just head back to our code again, our documentation, and let's install Tailwind CSS. So copy this and let this install. Give it a second. And once this has been installed also, we're also going to paste the next command, but we also have to type npm I and paste this. But we don't want to install the latest Tailwind CSS because it is not really stable with the latest Expo and React Native. So we have to install a specific version, which is 3.3.2. So we're just going to click on enter, and this version works well with the version of Expo and React Native we are using. So we should be good to go. The next thing we want to do is initialize Tailwind CSS so that we can be able to use it in our app. So let's just copy this and let's just paste this right here. And this will basically create a Tailwind config file for us so that we can specify all the parts that we want to use Tailwind CSS in our app. You're going to see the file here straight away. And inside of this file, we want to install or we want to paste or replace some content here. So we head back to our browser, and you can see here we are told to remove the contents, which is an empty array, and copy all of this and head back to our terminal or IDE and replace this with this. So let's just save that, and you can see dot slash app. So the app route is going to use tailwind CSS, and also if you want to specify other parts as well, it's also going to use tailwind CSS. So let's just replace everything here with src, which is source, by the way. So if you create a folder here called source, let's just create a folder here, by the way. We call it source. Any file inside of this source is going to use tailwind CSS, and this is what this does basically. So moving on, let's head back to our browser. And before we start our app also, let's just copy this plugin. As you can see, modify your babel.config.js. Copy this plugin, head back to your terminal. In the babel.config.js, just after this, you are going to paste your code right here. And this is going to let us use the specific native wind plugin. Once that is ready, you can literally start your app and use Tailwind CSS, and you are good to go. But in my own case, I still want to install other dependencies or packages for our app. So moving on, we're going to install Expo font because we want to use a specific kind of font in our app. So I'm just going to copy this, and you can see it has a fair amount of download weekly. I'm just going to head back here. I'm going to paste this right here as well and click on install. And I'm going to go back to my code right here. The next thing I want to install is Expo vector icons. We are going to be using these icons in our app navigation, especially our bottom tabs. We are going to modify it based on the route that we are in currently. So if we are on the home route, we want to show a specific icon. If we are on the chart screen, we want to show a specific icon, and that is what this icon is going to help us do basically. So let's just copy this, head back to our terminal, paste this as well. Let me just bring this up for you to see properly. Click on enter, head back to your browser, and the next package I'm going to install is React Native hero icons. In our app, we want to have some chat icons and all. This is what is going to help us and do that. We can also use this, but I want this to be specifically for icons in our screens, but this specifically for icons in our bottom tabs. So let me just go here and say, let me just copy this, head back to my terminal, paste this as well, install this. And while that is installed, let's head back to our browser. And the next thing I want to install is React Native Responsive Screen, which is going to make sure that our app is responsive on all devices: iPhone 12 Pro Max, Samsung Galaxy, and also Samsung Fold. Any device you want to use this app, it is going to be responsive, and you will have a pixel perfect design. So let me just copy this, head back to my terminal right here. This is installing. Just give this a moment. So while this has already installed, paste this as well, click on enter. And the last thing I want to install is React Native Snap Carousel, which is basically going to let us have a carousel feature in our app, so we can swipe through all the dates and all. So I'm just going to copy this, but I also don't want to install the latest version of this, as you can see, or this version currently. I don't want to install it because it has little to minor issues, and I'm going to install a specific version. So I'm just going to head back to my terminal, paste this, and say I want to install a specific version and I'm going to paste this version, as you can see right here, which is basically 4.0.0 dash beta.6, and you have this up sign right here, which you can find on your computer. So if you click on enter, this version is going to work with our Expo. So once this has installed, all you have to do is just start your app and you should be good to go. But I should also note that finally, you can also specify the kind of font you want to use in your app. And in my own case, I'm using fonts from Google Fonts, and you can find that in fonts.google.com. And all you have to do is just search for space Grotex. And if you scroll up, you're going to select all the fonts you want. And once you have it selected, you're going to see this little cart here. And once you select it, you're going to see all the fonts that you selected. And in my own case, I'm just going to download the fonts that I selected. And once I download it, I'll put it inside the font folder right here in my source. But we are going to set up that later. So let's just continue with our app. Here, I'm going to start my app by saying npx expo start. I'm going to click on enter, and this is going to start my React Native Expo app, and you're going to see it just in a second here on my virtual device. While that is starting, let me just minimize this. And inside of my, it seems we have a little dependency issue here. If you scroll up, it says Expo font is not stable with the latest version. So all you have to do is just use this command npx expo install fix to install the version that works with Expo. So we're just going to cancel our server, and I'm just going to paste this right here. And this command will basically fix all the dependency issue that we have in our app. So just give this a moment to install, and it will also remove the version that doesn't work very well. So just give this a second or two. So once that is fixed, we're just going to start our app again like we started it before. So let me just click on npx expo start, and I'm doing that on my terminal using the up and down arrow key. You can use to review all the commands that you've already used in your terminal. So up arrow key or down arrow key. So now that that has been fixed, you can see you're provided the QR code here. If you have an iPhone, all you have to do is just make sure that you download Expo Go on your app store. You can easily find it, and you can see the name just right here, Expo Go. And also, if you don't have an iPhone, you can start a virtual device like this and you should be good to go. Or if you have an Android device, you definitely need to just connect your code to your system, and it's going to ask you to just start your app on your Android device. Now, in my own case, I'm just going to type A. As you can see, open on Android. Just going to type A, and this will open on my virtual device right here. So give this a second or two. So you can see that our app is already starting. Let me just minimize this also. Once I minimize it, you're going to see our app bundling just right here. Just give this a second or two. And you can see bundling, and it's going to show the percentage in which the app is bundling. While that is working, let me just close this. Let me close this as well. I don't need it as well. So next thing I want to do is set up my file folder structure inside of my source. And inside of this source, I'm just going to set up some things first. And the first folder I want to create is the screen folder. And if you check our design here, this is the first design we'll be creating. This is a splash screen. And this screen and the remaining screens as well, the home screen, the chat screen, they will all be inside of this screen folder. Next thing I want to create is a navigation folder. And this navigation folder will let us be able to navigate from this splash screen to the home screen and the remaining screens that we might have in our app. The next folder I want to create is a fonts folder, and this folder will house all the fonts that we are using in our app right here. Also, inside of this source folder, I want to create a component folder, and this folder is basically going to house some basic things like the button and things that are reusable in our app. While that is ready, I also want to create another folder inside of this. I'm going to call this utils, which is basically going to house all the files or the dummy data that we want to have in our folder. So I'm just going to head back into my navigation, and as you can see, our app has been started already. Open up app.js to start working on your app. So I'm just going to head back to app.js. You're going to see the React Native app in its raw state. Now, I don't want to use all this styling here. I want to start from scratch. So I'm just going to remove everything here. And I'm going to remove everything here. And you're going to see this disappear just in a moment. And also inside of A, I'm going to say I want to have a view. And a view is basically just like a div if you are coming from the web. And I want to have a text inside of this. And this text is going to say hello world. Save that, and you should see your app right here. Now let me just check if our styling tailwind css works. So here, to use tailwind css, just like in web, all you have to do is just say class name, and this is going to be bg orange, and this is going to be 500. Save this, and you're going to see the color right here. That shows that tailwind css is working in our app. So to get started, I want to set up my navigation, and first things first, I'm going to create some set of screens first. And inside of screens, I'm going to create a file. I'm going to call this welcome screen.js, and this is sitting inside of the screen. Now here I'm just going to create a basic function, and I'm going to say React Native functional component. As you can see right here, once I select this, it is basically going to create a function and a function name, and basically it is going to return something. This is JavaScript as its basics. And also, it is going to import React and also view and text from React Native. And we are good to go. Now, the next screen I want to create is going to be a home screen .js, and this is going to have the same boiler code as this, but in this case, this is going to be home screen. Next I'm going to be creating is going to be a chat screen .js. This is going to contain all our chats. So I'm also going to create a boiler code for this as well. Next thing I want to create is going to be a chat detail screen.js. I'm just going to say React Native functional component. And after this as well, I'm going to create the last thing, which is basically a profile screen.js. And here I'm going to say React Native functional component. So while this is ready, I'm just going to close everything as well. I don't need them for now. And I only need them because I want to set up my navigation. And inside of my navigation, I'm going to create a text or a file instead called app navigation.js. And inside of this, I'm going to say React Native functional component as well. And this is going to be called app navigation. This file, I'm going to import it inside app.js. So I'm going to head into app.js, remove everything here, and change this to app navigation. I'm going to import it from the specific path that it is suggesting right here. So just click this, and you're going to see your app navigation text show up here any moment from now. As you can see, the same text we have here. Moving on, I'm just going to set up my navigation here using the native stack and all, and also bottom tab. You're going to see the bottom tab here any moment from now. So first things first, I'm just going to say import navigation container from React navigation slash native, which has an art at the front. And this auto suggest was provided to me by GitHub Copilot. If you don't have it, go to your extension right here and search for GitHub Copilot, and you're going to be able to use GitHub Copilot. As you can see it right here, it's going to auto suggest some code based on a specific pattern, and you can even ask it question and it's going to provide the code for that. So just close it. Also, the second extension I'm using in my app is Tailwind CSS IntelliSense, and once I click this, you're going to see Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. It has about 4.3 million downloads, and as you can see right here, I've already installed it, and that is what I want. So this is going to make sure that whenever I use a Tailwind CSS class name, it is going to show me the full details of what that styling or class name is. So I'm just going to minimize my sidebar right here, and I'm going to set up the next thing. So inside of here, I'm just going to replace everything here with navigation container. Let me just set this up like this. This is going to be looking like this, and inside of here is where I'm going to set up all my navigations. But before that, I also have to import it. So I'm going to say import, open a curly braces, and say create native stack navigator from at React navigation native slash stack. And after this, I'm going to say import the next thing, which is our bottom tab navigation, and I'm going to say create bottom tab. As you can see, it has already suggested what I need to import, so just select it. And if you already have the package installed, you shouldn't have any issues using them. So after this is ready, I'm going to create a variable here. I'm going to call this stack, and I'm going to assign it to this create native stack navigator, and I'm going to have a curly braces after it, which represents that it is a method or a function coming from this package. The next thing I want to do is create another variable called tab, and this is going to be coming from create bottom tab, which we have right here. The same process, and we should be good to go. Now inside of here, I'm just going to say I want to use the stack that I just created, stack.navigator. I'm just going to have this like this, and inside of this I want to have some props, which is basically hiding some of the headers. As you can see, there's no header right here, and that's because we already hid it. But let's just bring in our screens first so you can see what we are talking about. So inside of here, I'm going to say stack.screen, and this is going to be looking like this, but I don't want this to be home. I want this to be welcome, and I also want this to be welcome screen. And all I have to do is just import this welcome screen. If you click on the last word here and hold Control and press space bar, it might in some cases suggest the welcome screen for you to import. If it does not, all you have to do is just head back to the top of your code and say import, and you're going to import welcome screen from screens and welcome screen. And let's just see, as you can see, we have our welcome screen right here. Next thing I want to import is the chart details screen. So let me just do this like this, but this is going to be charts details, and this is going to be renamed to chart details screen. And I'm just going to import this again. If it doesn't say it, no problem. In fact, let me just import all my screens right here. After this, we also have a chart. Let me just replace this with this. Import chart screen from this particular part. Also, I want to import a profile screen. I'm going to say import profile screen, and we're just going to import this like this. And also I want to import the home screen. I'm just going to say import home screen, and this is going to be coming from this particular part, which is basically inside of our screen folder. Then import home screen. Then all of this, I'm going to bring it inside of here, but this is not what I want to do. First, I want to have this home screen, profile screen, and chat screen inside of a bottom tab that's going to be displayed right here. Now, to do that, all I have to do is just say, just after this curly braces, I'm going to say const home tabs is going to be assigned to an arrow function, and this is going to look basically just like a function, but this is an arrow function, by the way. And I have to return something, and as you can see, GitHub Copilot already suggested what the code should look like. And I'm just going to click on tab, or just click on this accept, and I have all my screens for the tab created. As you can see, home, chat, profile, and all. And also, I want to use this home tab right here. So after this, I'm just going to scroll up and accept the suggestion that GitHub is giving me. And as you can see, the home tab right here, which is basically using this, and our navigation is pretty set up. And the next thing I want to do, like I said, hide this header right here. So in my stack.navigator, just after this, I'm going to say initial. As you can see, it even suggested what I should do. As you can see, initial route name is welcome. So this is the first screen that we get shown to every user that come into our app. Also, we have the screen options. It says header shown is false. As you can see, that has disappeared. Also, in our chart details screen, I want our screen to just pop from the bottom whenever we select each individual chart. Now, after this, it is going to have some prop as well. And the prop is going to be options. And this is going to look like this. And this is going to say presentation is going to be a modal. So this is going to slide in properly like a modal, and we should be good to go with our app. Now let's just start working on our splash screen. I still want to do something in the tab.navigator, which is basically styling all the bottom tabs and using the right icon. But since we are not there now, let me just start working on this splash screen, or this welcome screen rather. And let's just head back into our sidebar here. Welcome screen, close this up, and inside of here we're going to start working on our welcome screen. And to begin working on this, if you could remember that I use a specific kind of font in my app, so I want to import all those fonts, and remember that we downloaded it, right? So we're just going to head back into our folder here. Inside of our font, I'm going to import all the fonts that I want to use. So wherever you download your font, just copy it inside of this folder, and you're going to see the fonts that we're using. In my own case, it's Space Grotex. As you can see, it's right here. So these are all the fonts we'll be using: bold, light, medium, regular, semi-bold. And let me just close this. And inside of my welcome screen, let me just minimize this. I'm just going to set up all the required code that we need to use our font. You can't just use the font directly without setting up things first. Now, in my own case, I'm going to say const, I'm going to create an array, and it's going to be font loaded. and also font error in case we have a font error. Then I'm going to assign this to use font, and this use font, it has been imported here from Expo font, and it is going to be a method that has a curly braces inside of this. And here is where I'm going to import all my fonts. Now I'm going to say, I'm going to declare space grotesque semi bold, and this is going to be require, and this require is going to use a specific part in my app, but I don't want this to be inside of here. I want to remove the assets, and this is what that part looks like, and this error should disappear any moment from now. So let me just save that. After this, I also want to use a space grotesque. By the way, this is going to be k, and this is going to be k also. Let me just check if this part really exists. So I'm just going to say dot dot slash. As you can see, it exists, and this is just what I want. So space grotesque bold, but our folder is named fonts. So let's just rename this to fonts, and let's rename this one to fonts as well, and the error should disappear. Next thing I want to do is import something else. I'm going to say space grotesque medium, and I'm going to import the medium text as well, and this is showing an error saying 816. If you are sure the module exists, whatever, let's just check if Expo fonts is in our package.json. And as yes, it exists, and as you can see right here, yes, it exists, Expo fonts. So let's just close that, and let's just continue working on our app. So the next thing we want to do is create a function that will make sure that if this font is not loaded yet, we want to show a splash screen for our user until the font is loaded. So this is going to make sure that our font is loaded on our app first before showing all the design. So right here, I'm going to say const on layout root view, and this is going to be assigned to a use callback hook, and this is going to be coming from React. You don't need to know the full details of what I'm doing right here because you can find them in the documentation. If you check Expo fonts, you're going to find the documentation of how to use the Expo font and all, and that is where I got this as well. But this is going to be an async like this, and inside of this, I'm going to say if my font is loaded, or if I have a font error, then I want to do something else. I want to say await, and I want to await splash screen dot hide async. I don't have my splash screen installed yet, so I'm just going to head back into my browser. So I'm just going to install splash screen right away. I'm going to head back to my browser, and just in npmjs.com, I'm going to scroll up, and I'm going to just copy this, and I'm going to head back into my terminal. Just bring this down, open my terminal, open a new terminal right here, cd into date, click on enter, and here is where I'm going to install Expo splash screen, but I want to install a specific version as well. So I'm going to say at 0.20.5, and this is the version that I want to install. So I'm just going to click on enter, and this is going to install Expo splash screen for me. And while that is doing, while that is installing, I'm just going to head back here and stop my server because it seems we need to install, or because it seems we need to refresh our app, and you can see it says cannot connect to Metro. Let's just check if that has installed. Yes, it has. Head back to your PowerShell, then start your app once again. So once that is starting, let's just continue with our code right here, and we can as well just say import star as splash screen from Expo splash screen, and later we start our app, this splash screen error is going to disappear. So after this, inside of this dependency as well, I want to use the fonts loaded and also the font error. And after this, I also want to say if fonts loaded is not true, then I'm going to say return no, and that is all what I want. But in this view is where I want to use this on layout root view. So let me just copy this. Okay, our app is already up. Let me just press A to open it on our virtual device right here. What that is opening, I'm just going to say right here, I want to say on layout, and I'm going to assign what we created here, which is this function right here. I want to assign it to on layout right here, and we should be good to go. Let me just import use callback, and it seems we already have it imported, already use callback, and it seems our app crashed. Let's just open it again, and this is going to open our Expo app right away. So while that is running also, I think we are yet to use our font in our app, and in one or two cases you're going to see your virtual device crash or have some errors. You might need to restart your virtual device. So the key point is you have to be patient while developing with React Native, because you will get these errors here and there. And all you have to do is just restart your app in some cases. If the error is not related to syntax error or a bug error in your code, if it's just virtual device error, all you have to do is just restart that. As you can see, you have our welcome screen here and we have no errors. So let's just minimize this. Now let's start creating this beautiful UI design in our app. And also we need to import this image that we're using right here. So inside of my assets, I'm just going to bring in all the images I'm going to be using inside of this build. So you're going to find this images folder in the description box below. I'm just going to place it inside the assets, and let me just walk you through what is inside these images. The first file you get is the index.js, which is basically importing all of these images inside of this index.js and importing them just like a single name. So normally you're used to importing your images by saying import so with this specific part, but no, I want to use just a single variable name to use all my images. And if you check all these images, you have these profile images, which is basically this nice looking guy in a savanna or tropical area. Let me just close that. Also, we have this user one, which is basically this beautiful lady, and you can find all these images on pixels.com. That is where I'm getting all these images. You can also find some of them on unsplash.com, and that is where I get all my images. But I'm going to be leaving all these images in the description box below. And if you check the other images as well, they are just similar in that way. So I'm just going to close this. And also I want to bring in an icon, which is basically this icon right here. You can find this icon too in the description box below. I want to have that inside of my asset instead. And if you check the art icon right here, if you click on it, you're going to see the art icon right here. So let me just close this, and I'm ready to use that art icon in my welcome screen, which is basically this. So right here, we are ready to work on our code. After this, I'm just going to say I want to have a class name, and the class name is going to be flex of 1. After this as well, I want to have a style, and the style is going to be width is going to be coming from WP of 100, which is going to be entire width of this, but we don't have this WP imported yet. So let me just say import width percentage to DP as WP, and it's coming from React Native responsive screen. And that is all we need to do. Save that, and that error should disappear right away. Also inside of this, I want to have another view. Let me just minimize this, bring this up so you can see what I'm working, and even bring up my code properly so that you can see it. So inside of this view, I'm going to have a class name, and this class name is going to be justify of center items of center. Then inside of this again, I'm going to have a style, and this style is going to be width is going to be WP, and this is going to be 100. Also, I want to have an height, and the height also is going to be WP of 100. It doesn't exist yet. Let me go and import the height as well. So I'm just going to put a comma here and say height to DP as HP. So this is basically working with height. This is working with the width of our screen. As you can see, things are shaping up properly. So first things first, I want to have this art icon here. So inside of my view here, I'm just going to create a comment that says art icon image. So I'm just going to say this is going to also have a view, and this view is going to say class name, and the class name is going to be justify of center items of center margin y of 4. And inside of this is where I'm going to have my image. And before I leave here, I just want to have a style also. I'm going to say the style is going to be, the width is going to be 100%, which is basically WP of 100, and that is how that will look like. Now inside of this view is where I want to have my image. I'm just going to say image. I'm just going to bring this down. I'm going to say the source of my image is going to be require. Let me just use this part, but this is not the exact part I want. Let me remove it and start from fresh. I'm going to say dot dot slash dot dot slash, and inside of my assets I'm going to go into art icon dot png, save that, and once you add a width and height to it, it is going to be able to show the art icon. So I'm going to say style is going to be, and this we have two curly braces like this, and the first one is going to be width of 100, and also the height is going to be of 40, but this is going to be HP instead. And they're going to see it keeps throwing this error that says image doesn't exist. Let me just import that pretty quick, and you see my image any moment from now. And also I'm going to say after this, as you can see my image right here, I'm going to say the resize mode is going to be not contain but cover, and this looks just like what I want. Or instead, let me use contain and see what that looks like. And yes, it is just like what I want right here. So the next thing I want to add is this text right here. So after this view, which is this image view, I'm just going to minimize this, and under this I'm going to say a welcome text. And after this I'm going to say I want to have a view as well, and inside of this view I'm going to say I want a class name, and the class name is going to be width of full, padding of 6, padding x of 10, and inside of here I'm going to have a text, and inside of here I'm going to have a text, and this text is going to say embrace, and it's going to have the following properties. Class name is going to be font of semi bold, tracking is going to be widest, leading is going to be leading is going to be none. Save that. And after this I also want to have a specific kind of font. I'm going to say style. The font size is going to be WP of 10, and also the font family is space Grotex bold. Let me just remove these curly braces, and you should see our app right away, but it's not showing the specific kind of font we want because of this semi bold property. So let me just remove that, and you should see my specific font that I created right here. Let me just check if that is what I have created here. Space Grotex bold, space Grotex bold, and this should change. Let me just remove this, and if you don't see it, let's just continue working. We're going to fix that any moment from now, and it seems it has. Let me just remove this and see the default font. As you can see, yes, this is the default font, but this is the font we are using. Good. Let me just scroll up. After this text as well, I want to have another text, and this text is going to have the following class name. The class name is going to be font. I don't want to use font semi bold because that is not going to let our specific font work, but this is going to be tracking of widest. Width is going to be 70%. Leading is going to be none as well, and the same kind of font that I have here, or the same kind of property that I have here, I'm just going to copy this, paste this. It works just the same way, but the font is going to be looking like a new way of dating, and that is what that will look like. But it seems we have a little design issue here because our image is already going under this. We don't want that at all. Let me just check what we are doing wrong. So after this text, I also want to have another text, and this text is going to say we combine cutting edge technologies with a modern approach to match making, and I'm going to save that, and you're going to see the text right here. Let me just give it its own property as well. The class name is going to be text of gray of 800. The leading is going to be 6. Tracking is going to be wider. Width is going to be 60%. Margin top of 2. And just after this, I want to have the same properties here. So I'm just going to post this right here. But the width here is not going to be 10, it's going to be 3.5. And also this is going to be space text medium. And we're almost ready with our app, as you can see it right here. And it says space text medium. This is what I want, not that. And this is what I want exactly. Let me just change this to 4 and let's see if that is bigger. And also change this width to 70%. And that is what I want exactly. Then after that, I also want to have a button right here. Don't worry about this design issue right now. I'm going to fix it any moment from now. So after this view, I'm going to have another view. And this view is going to say the following class name. Class name is going to be width of full, padding X of 10. Inside of this view is where I'm going to have my button. And this is going to look like this. I'm going to have a touchable opacity. Let me just import that, and this is going to be a proper component, and it is going to have the following class name. The class name for this is going to be bg of, let's say, blue 600. Also padding X is going to be 4, padding Y is going to be 4, rounded of XL, flex of row, justify of center, items of center, save that. And also the width is going to be just 45 degree. And also inside of this touchable opacity, I'm going to have a text and an icon, as you can see right here. Let me change the color, however, to relate with the art icon that we have right here. So I'm going to say F2 6322, save that. And this is what that should look like. So inside of here, I'm going to have a text inside of here, and this text is going to say get started. And this text is going to have the following class name, and the class name is going to be text of white, font of bold, margin right of 2. And after this, I'm going to have the following style. I'm going to say the style is going to be, I'm going to use the font size, and let me just use this suggestion from GitHub, and I'm going to say this is going to be, let me check the other font that we specify here. Let's select medium, and this font right here is going to be 3.5. Save that and we should be good to go. Or let's choose 4 instead, why not? And also we're going to have an icon right here. This icon, after this, we're going to say use arrow up right icon, and this is coming from our hero icon. Let me just add the properties first. The color is going to be white, and after this the size is going to be 20, and also the stroke width is going to be 2.5. Save that, and up here is where I'm going to import that icon. I'm going to say import, I'm going to say arrow up right icon from, then a double quote like this, and I'm going to say react native hero icons. And hero icons, we're going to be using the outline of this specific icon because we have solid, we have outline for this specific icon as well. So it seems we are ready, and we should have a working app right now. Let me just check here again if we don't have any issues. Arrow up, arrow arrow up, right icon. Yes, that is what we want. And you can see our icon right here. Now we have a slight design issue which is making our design look this way. And let me just minimize, let me just minimize most of this, and it seems we shouldn't be having this issue at all. So let me just add a border to debug the issue we have here. So I'm just going to say border 2, and let's see where we are having an issue right here. And it seems this is where our app stopped. Let me just or remove this flex of 1, and it seems that is not the issue. And also let me add a border right here to see what that issue is as well. And let me just add a background red color to just debug what our issue is. So it seems our entire section here is working as it should, but this component is what is having issues right now. And it seems you are using WP of 100. It's supposed to be HP of 100, and you can see our app is ready. So those are some of the ways you debug your design if you're having any issues with them. So our welcome screen is ready, and all you have to do is just implement the navigation for this, so that whenever we select this, we'll be taken to the home screen. And to do that, all we have to do is just come up here and say const navigation, and this is going to be coming from use navigation, but let's also import it right here. So we're just going to scroll up, and it says use navigation doesn't exist, but we have it imported already. Why are you this slow? You this virtual device. Anyway, let's just move on and use that navigation right here in our touchable opacity. I'm just going to scroll to the end, come here, and just above this I'm going to say on press. As you can see, the error has already disappeared without even doing anything. So let's just use this suggestion, and this suggestion is saying, let me see what the issue is right here. And it says on press it is going to be using an arrow function, and it is going to go to navigate to home. And this is basically not what I want per se. If you check my app navigation and if you scroll up, you can see this tab here is called home tabs. So I'm just going to copy this, go back to welcome screen, scroll up, and I'm going to replace that with this, save that. And once I click this, it is going to take me to the home tab. So let's do this in 3, 2, 1, go. So after that, we are just going to make sure that the part here, which is basically the navigation part, is home tabs, just like we have it in our app navigation right here. As you can see, home tabs, this is the tab that we want to add into. So we're just going to click on get started, and this is going to take us to our home screen and other tabs that we have. As you can see, this is the chat tab, this is the profile tab, and we are good to go on setting up the design for this screen. And if you check our design right here, this is what our home screen will look like, and you can see the tab right here. First things first, let's set up these bottom tabs and let's jump into that. So we're just going to head back into our app navigation, and inside of this tab.navigator, just above here, we are going to say screen options, and this is going to have an arrow function inside of this, and this is going to look just like this. And inside of this as well, we're going to destructure some parts. We're going to destructure the root. And moving on, we are going to say the first property here is going to be header shown, and this is going to be of false, and this is going to have a comma right here. But also I want to have a curly braces inside of this, and this is how that will look like. So let's just select this, and you're going to see that the header has disappeared for all of this component. So let me just add to my navigation right here. Let me copy all of this and use this as the initial route, so whenever we're working on our home screen, we don't get taken back to the welcome screen. So after this header shown, I also want to fix the tab icon right here. So I'm just going to say tab bar icon, and this is going to be looking like this. We're going to have an arrow function, and this is going to look like this. Inside of this also, I'm going to destructure a property called focus. So whenever we are focused in our app, it's going to have a specific color. And inside of this, I'm going to first declare a variable called icon name, and this is going to look like this. Also, I'm going to create an if else statement to say if each of these parts is home, show a specific icon. If this part is chart, show a specific icon, and all of that. So after this, I'm going to say if, and this is going to be an if else statement, and I'm going to say if route dot name is strictly equal to home, I want to show a specific icon, and I'm going to say this icon name is going to be assigned to home, but this is going to be a small letter. And also after this, I'm going to say else if, and I'm going to say else if the route dot name is strictly equal to chart, then I'm going to show a specific icon right here. I'm just going to copy and paste this. So it seems our GitHub Copilot is having an issue tonight. I don't know why that issue is popping up, but anyway, let's just leave that and just close this by the way. So if the route name, that is this route name, if it is chart, then I want to set the icon name to be chart bubbles slash outline. Else if the route is strictly equal to profile, then I want to show another specific icon. Then I'm just going to copy all of this. I'm going to paste this right here, and this is not going to be chat bubbles outline but person outline, and you're going to see them any moment from now. But let's just have something here also. I'm going to say I want to use a customized size, so I'm going to say customize size is going to be 25. Then whenever I'm done with this, I have to return something, and I'm going to return the ionic icons right here. I'm just going to say I capital letter ION icons, and this is going to be a self-closing tag. And right inside of this, I'm just going to make sure that this is not having any typo issues, and it seems it is. Let me just undo all of this. Let me just undo all of this, and I want to return ION icons, and this is going to be a self-closing tag. Let me just import it right here. I'm just going to say import, and I'm going to say ION icons from Expo vector icons, and this is where I'm using it. And let me just add other properties to it. I'm just going to say the name is going to be icon name, and there's a major issue with our code right here. Let me just quickly debug and see what the issue is. And after this, let me just paste the code I copied. Okay, so it seems that we are having it outside of that component before, but anyway, that fixed our issue. As you can see, our icon is coming up one by one. So after this, I'm going to say the size is going to be customize size that we have right here, and you're going to see them come up really big. And after that, I'm going to say the color. I'm going to say if it is focused, then you're going to show a specific kind of color, which is going to be 3B 82 F6. Else it is going to be a unique color, which is going to be gray, and that is how that works. And it seems we are having a minor issue here. And why is that error showing? And that is probably because, let's just check what the error is. So it says field prop type invalid prop color supplied to text. And okay, let's just add an hash here, which is a proper color code, as you can see right here. But it seems our person outline is also not working properly. And let me just debug that now. And it seems we are supposed to add dot name here, and that should fix our issue right here. So Our navigation is good to go, and if you check here, it looks like just what we have right here. But we still need to style the tab bar right here, which is the label and all. So after this, I'm just going to collapse this, and just after this, I'm going to say tab bar active tint color, and this is going to be using a unique color, which is going to be 3B82F6. And let me just assign this like this. And after this, I'm going to say the tab bar in active tint color is going to be using the color of gray. And after this, I'm going to say the tab bar style. This is going to be using the background color property, and I'm going to use white actually, and that is what that will look like. And this is already shaping up properly. So, and also right here, I'm just going to say tab bar label style. This is supposed to be label style, and this is going to be font weight. The font weight is going to be of bold. So I'm just going to save that and put a comma right here, and our tab bar style is ready. So let's just jump into creating our home screen right here. So this is what we are going to create right here in our home screen. Let's just head to our home screen. Inside of here is where we're going to have all these various designs. So first things first, I'm just going to have this here and say save area view is coming from React Native safe area context, and you can see this pushed it to a safe area, which is not messing with the status bar that we have right here. Moving on, I'm going to say this as a class name, and this class name is going to be bg of white, flex of 1, justify of between. And after this, I'm going to say it has a style, and this style is going to be padding. Top is going to be, if it is Android, then I want to show a specific, or I want to use a specific height. And here it's basically saying if you're on Android, you're going to use this padding top, else just use 0 for iPhone and all that. So I have to bring in this Android, and the way to do that is basically say const Android is going to be assigned to platform, and this platform is going to come from React Native right here. And I'm going to say platform.os is going to be strictly Android. And once that is ready, I also want to create or import. I'm going to say import height percentage to dp as hp. Save that, and these two errors should disappear right away. As you can see, it gives us a nice padding top. And after this, I'm going to say I want an header, and this header is going to have a view, and this view is going to have the following class name. The class name is going to be width of full, flex of row, justify of between, items of center, padding x of 4, margin bottom of 8. And inside of this, I'm going to say I want an image, and after this image, I'm going to have a div, and the class name for this is going to be rounded of full, items of center, justify of center. And inside of this view, I'm going to have our cool looking image that we have right here. And remember that we've already imported our images inside our images folder right here, as you can see them. And just after here, I'm just going to say image. Let me import image very quick, and I've imported that. I'm just going to say the source of this image is going to be coming from profile, and I don't think I have the profile imported yet. I'm just going to say import. I'm just going to import profile, and it's going to be coming from, and let me just specify the parts, and this is going to be coming from assets, And after these assets, the images, and I hope I've already have that exported. As you can see, this is working. So let me just give this a proper styling. I'm going to say the style for this is going to be width, and the width is going to be HP of 4.5. Also the height is going to be HP of 4.5. Resize mode is going to be cover. Save that. And you can see that looks good already. Let's give this another style. We're going to say this one is rounded of full. Save that, and that should look just like what we have in our design. And after this view, I want to have a brand name. And just after this, I'm going to have a view also. And inside of this view, I want to have a text. And this text is basically going to say stacks date. And it's going to have the following properties. I'm going to have a class name. And the class name is going to be text of extra large, font of semi bold, text of center, then uppercase is what I want, UPP uppercase like this. And also after this view, I want a bell icon. Let me just scroll up properly and let me just increase the font for this. So after this, I'm going to say I want to have a view as well. And this view is going to have the following properties. It is going to say class name is going to be text of extra large. Nope. And this class name is going to say BG black over 10, padding of 2, rounded of full, items of center, justify of center. Then here I'm going to have a touchable opacity, and this is going to have a bell icon inside. I'm going to see bell icon coming from our hero icons right here. I already have that imported, and this is going to have the following properties. Size is going to be 25, and after this I'm going to say the stroke width is going to be, let me just set this like this, it's going to be 2. And after this I'm going to say the color is going to be black. Save that, and you can see our icon just like we have it right here. Then finally I want to have a carousel. Just after this I want to have a carousel for all our images right here. So let me just scroll up, let me remove this text, and I'm just going to say I want to have a view. And inside of this view, let me just give this its property first. Class name is going to be padding bottom of 4. And after this, I'm going to say I want to have a view as well. And this view is going to have the following class name. It's going to be MX of 4, margin bottom of 4. And inside of this, I'm going to have a text. And this text is going to say find your love. And this class name is going to be capitalize, which is the most important thing, text of 2XL, font of semi bold. Save that. And just after this view is where I'm going to have another view, and this view is going to have our carousel, and this carousel is coming from React Native Snap Carousel. And I can as well have a unique font here that says style is going to be font family, and this is going to be space grotesque bold. And let me just see, okay, that changes, that fixed that. So inside of my carousel I'm going to have the following. The data is going to be coming from date data. We are here to import or create our data for now, so let's just do that very quick before this error starts shouting at us. So inside of my folder right here, let me just scroll up, minimize all of this, Inside of my source, I'm going to create another folder called constant. And inside of this, I'm going to have an index.js. I'm just going to paste this data right here. So I got this data from ChatGPT, which is basically dummy data for our mobile app build. And let me just take you through what is going on right here. Here, I'm importing all of the images that we have exported right here. As you can see, inside of our images, we are exporting all of these images right here. And inside of my constants, I'm importing them so that I can assign them to all of this data right here. That is what this import is doing. And this is what the part looks like. Let me just minimize this. And the first data I have here, which is the user data, is basically all these pictures right here and their name, their age, if they are verified, their country, their state, and all. As you can see, Peggy right here. And if you scroll up, you're going to also see other data here as well. But anyway, that is what that data is for, as you can see it right here. Another data that I have is the chat data, which is basically going to be our chat information. And you can see the sender, and you can see the ID of one, the name of Betty, the img URL. Here, I'm going to come back to this whenever when we are working on the chat data. Let me just minimize this. Inside of the date data, you can see I have all this data as well, which is Dana Jones, Jane Smith, and this is where you're going to find all of these data. As you can see, name is Jane, last name is Smith, and the age is 28. Country is USA, and city is Los Angeles. And that is what this data is for basic. And this is the data that I'm going to be importing in my home screen. And finally, I just have this profile data, which is basically my profile picture. And it has the IMG of profile, the hobbies of icon, the bio. And you can basically get the idea of what this data is. So let me just minimize this. Inside of my home screen, let me just import this right away. As you can see, this data, and once that is ready, we're just going to continue with my code right here. I'm going to say render item is going to be using an arrow function, and this arrow function is going to use the date card because I have a date card. And I'm just going to close this right here. And inside of this, I'm also going to destructure something. I'm going to say item because I want to pass the individual item to this date card. And I'm going to say the item is going to be item like this. I still have to create this date card. So let me just continue working on my code. After this, I'm going to say the first item is going to be 1, and also the inactive slide scale is going to be 0.86. And after this, I'm going to say the inactive slide opacity is going to be 0.6. And after this, I'm going to say the slider width is going to be coming from width. And also after this, I'm going to say the item width is going to be width multiplied by 0.8. And after this, I'm going to say the slide style is going to be looking like this. I'm going to say the display is going to be of flex. And after this, the align items is going to be of center. So let me just save this and I should be good to go. So right now, all I have to do is just reload my app and make sure that this app is updated. And before I do that, let me just create this date component, which is this date card component. Let me head back here. Inside of my component, I'm going to create a date card component.js. And we're also going to say React Native functional component. So inside of my app navigation, I'm just going to, let me minimize this. It seems I have already. But right here, I'm going to say this I want to use as welcome because when I reload my app, the font is going to be pulled from this section. And let me just reload my app right here. It seems it's throwing a major error here. Let me check what the error is. It says invariant violation, input range must be yada 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 yada. This is basically related to the carousel that we are using, and it seems the error is still throwing right here, and it even crashed our app. And it said you need to specify both slider width and item width for horizontal carousel, and I think I've done that already. And let me just check the top of my code here. Okay, I still have to bring in my width. I'm going to say width and height is going to be coming from width and height is going to be equal to dimensions from React Native, by the way, dot get, and I'm going to get the window that I'm currently working on, and this is what that looks like. And the width that I used here, which was throwing the error before, is going to get fixed. So at the bottom of my code, let me just reload. It's going to say no app is connected. Let me just head back into my Expo. Let me open this. And once that is open, I'll just do a reload again. And if it doesn't work, then all I have to do is just stop my server and start it again. So just give it a second. And let me just select this because this is the app we are working on. As you can see, it is already reloading again. And let me just check. Give this a moment. Have I imported the date card? No, I have not. Let me just have that imported right here. So I've imported that, and let me just click on get started, and you can see my date card is right here. And if I switch, you're going to see the next component right here. This is what I want. Let me just minimize this. And inside of my date card, I'm going to have the following. I'm going to say the class name for this is going to be relative. And inside of this, I'm going to have an image. And this image, let me just import it pretty quick. And after this, I'm going to say the source of the image is going to be coming from item dot img url. And let me just destructure this right here and say item just right here. Let me head back to my app navigation and set this to home tabs. Initial route name to home tabs. So let me just click on get started. And it says clipboard item doesn't exist. And what does that error basically mean? Let me just head back to my date card. And okay, it seems we are using the wrong thing here. I'm just going to say item dot img url, and you should see our image any moment from now. Let me just give this a width and all. So I'm just going to say the style is going to be width is going to be assigned to width, and that is be multiplied by 0.8. Also the height is going to be assigned to height multiplied by 0.75. And just right here, I'm just going to say const, and I'm going to say width and height is going to be assigned to dimensions dot get, and I'm going to assign windows to it. And let me just see if this is what we have here. Okay, it is just window, not windows. And moving on, I'm just going to say after this, I want a resize mode, and the resize mode is going to be cover. And just after this, I'm going to say the class name is going to be rounded of 3xl. Save that. And let me just head back to my navigation. Let me change this back and reload my app. And why is this error showing right here? Let me just check what the error is. It says, what is the error? Property itme doesn't exist. Is that itme that I use? I use item. But anyway, React Native and throwing errors here and there. So let me just minimize this. And this should show. And if it doesn't, it seems our app is really breaking. And that is really not what I want. And it seems it has crashed. Let me just open this again, and hopefully this should work. So let me just click on get started, and you can see all our beautiful images right here. This looks so cool already, even without adding the text on it. But hey, anyway, let's add the text and all. So moving on, just after this image, I want to have a linear gradient. Let me just import that. I will say import linear gradient, and this is coming from Expo linear gradient. And also, let me just change this to be a var so that this error will disappear. And Let's just continue working on our code right here. So after this, I'm going to say I want to use the linear gradient that I just created. And the linear gradient is going to be, which is basically this linear gradient under this text. And the first property is going to be colors. And the colors is going to have a curly braces like this. And this is going to say the first thing is going to be transparent. And the second property here is going to be RGBA. Let me just close this off like this. And it's going to be 0, 0, 0, 0.9. And after this, I'm going to say the style is going to be position. The position is going to be position. It's going to be absolute. Let me just save that. And why is this error still throwing? Let's just leave this for now. Also, I'm just going to say bottom is going to be 0. Width is going to be 100%. 100%. Height is going to be also 100%. Then the border, bottom, left radius is going to be 24. Also the border, let me just copy all of this, paste this right here. Also let me scroll up, and this is going to be right, and save that as well. And I'm going to say the start for this is going to be looking like this. Two curly braces. X is going to be 0.5. Y is going to be 0.5. And the same with this. Let me just copy and paste this. Copy this, paste this. Let me just minimize this sidebar. And the end here is going to be not 0. Okay, this is 0.5. And the Y here is going to be 1. Save that and you should be good to go. Let me just reload my app once again. And I know I'm doing a lot of reloading, and that's because the virtual device provided by Android Studio is not really cool, and it says unable to resolve Expo linear gradient from date card. And why is that happening? Let me just check if you have Expo linear gradient installed already. So inside of our package.json, let me just check if we have that. Oops, we do not have that. And let me just install that pretty quick. Let me just copy this, head back to a new component, and just say cd of date. I'm going to say npm I, paste this right here, and I'm going to install the version 12.3.0. And is that correct? 3.0. Let me just delete everything. 3.0. And when I click on enter, this is going to install Expo linear gradient inside of my app so I can use it. That was why the error was throwing the other time. So let me just stop my server right here and start this again. Let me just minimize this and check if that has already installed. Just give this a second. And if you check our package.json, you should see our Expo linear gradient right here. So let's just close this, head back to our server, and start this again. It seems our Expo is also having issues tonight, and that is probably because we are running two things at a time. So just give this a moment. Let me just click on A to open this on our Android that we have right here. So let me just minimize this, and this error should disappear right away. And let me just head into my app navigation and just wait for this to load. This should be loading, by the way. Let me just reload it, and this is going to bundle my app once again. So this should open straight away without any issues. Let's just bring this down, and in our date card, let me just select this. and you can see the gradient on all of these images right away. In my date card, I'm just going to come down after this and I'm going to have a view, and this view is going to say class name is going to be absolute, bottom is going to be 10, justify is going to be start, which is going to be full, items is going to be start, padding left is going to be 4. Then inside of this, I'm going to have another view, and inside of this view, I'm going to have a class name as well, and this class name is going to have a flex of row, justify of center, items of center, and this basically is going to create this section right here. So that is what I'm doing. After this, I'm going to have a text, and this text is going to say item dot name, and also after this, I'm going to say item dot last name. Save this and click on this. You should see the first and last name any moment from now. Let's just give this a color. In my app, the navigation, I don't want to have this right here. I want to have home tab instead. So inside of my date card, let me just close this, and let me close this as well. Inside of my text, I want to have a class name, and the class name is going to be text of 2XL, text of white, font of bold. Save that, and you can see my text right away. After this as well, I want to have a text, and this text is going to say item.age, and this is going to have the following properties. Class name is going to be text of 2XL, text is also going to be white, font is going to be of bold, margin right is going to be of 2. Save that, and it seems I'm missing something here because the text should not be beside each other. So I'm just going to have a curly braces created here also and put a comma right here, and that should fix our issue. So after this view, I want to have a location section right here, and if you check here, you're going to see this location and city, and here just under this I'm going to have a view, and this view is going to have the following class name. The class name is going to be flex of row, justify of center, items of center, and just after this I'm going to have a text, and the text is going to be item.city, and also the class name is going to be text of large, text of white, font of regular, and you're going to see this any moment from now. As you can see, it's right there, but it seems it is intersecting with each other. Let me just fix that right away. Right here I want to have this, and just after this I want to have a text as well, and this text is going to say the class name is going to be text of large, text of white, font of regular, margin right is going to be 2, and inside of this text I'm going to say I want to have item dot country. Save that, and it seems we have just a tiny design issue right here, and here it is saying virtualized list. You have a large list that is supposed to update. Make sure that you render item function that follow the react blah blah blah. Our item is not plenty, it's just less than 10, and that shouldn't be an issue at all. So let me just remove this component as well, or this text, and our text is coming up properly. Let me just fix something else also, and inside of this view, let me just cut this view right here, cut it, and let me just put this right here, and let's see what is going to happen. As you can see, This is looking good already, just like the design we have right here. The only thing that we need to add is this icon right here. And to do that, under this, I'm just going to say check badge icon. And I'm going to say it has the following properties. The size is going to be 25. And the color is going to be using a custom color. And this color is going to be 3B82F6. And all of this is going to be inside of a string. Save that. And you see our icon right, but that icon should be solid. And let me just check here. So let me change this to solid, and we should be good to go. It is going to reload, by the way, and change that right away. Let's just change this to icon again. We didn't change anything, but this is going to make it just reload the icon. I should see that any moment from now. So it seems our design is ready, and we have the same thing that we have right here. So let's just throw, and you can see all these beautiful dates right here. So the next thing we want to create is the chart screen. So let me just add to my screens, and in my chart screen, I'm going to work on the chart screen. And this is what the chart screen will look like. It has all these matches up here with their name, their age. It has this search area and also all this chart section. And once you click on each of these charts, you'll be able to see the full chart inside of individual dates. And to get started with that, we're just going to style this right away. So first things first, inside of this, I'm going to change this to a safe aerial view. And after this, I'm going to have a style just here. I'm going to say the style is going to be padding. It seems I have a type issue here. I'm going to say the padding top is going to be, if Android is the correct part or the correct device we're using, I'm going to have an HP of 3. And I'm just going to say, if not, just use 0. Let me import Android right here, just like we did in our home screen. Let me just copy both of this in my dates or chart screen. Let me close the dates card and just put this right here and import this right here. So let me check my chart, and it says HP doesn't exist. Let me just copy all of this and put this right here. And let me check again. My chart screen is right here. After this, I want to have an header, and this header is going to say view, and the view is going to have the following class name. It's going to be px of 4. And just after this, I'm going to have a text, and the class name for this is going to be uppercase, font semi bold, text neutral of 500, tracking of wider. Then after this is going to be a text of matches, and you're going to see it right here. Let me remove this, by the way. So after this, I'm going to have a matches component, and let me just go right into my component right here and say matches.js, and let me create a basic boiler code right here. And instead of my chart screen, let me just import matches that I created right here, and you're going to see it right here, by the way. And instead of these matches, I want to have these following matches right here, which is basically an image, a name, and an age. So I'm just going to say the class name here is going to be margin top of 4. And after this, I'm going to have a scroll view, and this scroll view is going to be horizontal. And what it shows horizontal scroll view is going to be false. And what you say the class name for this is going to be space x of 4. Content container style is going to be padding left, and this padding left is going to be HP. and the h is going to be 2. Let me just copy the HP and what's not before it throws a large error at me. So I'm just going to paste this right here. Also, I'm going to say the padding. Let me just copy all of this. I'm just going to say the padding right is going to also be HP of 2. Let me check my chart screen. And after this is where I'm going to pull all my chart data from. And this is supposed to be like this. So inside of here is where I'm going to pull all of these matches, and I'm going to use the data from my constant that I already have there. And I'm just going to say date data. I'm going to import that like that. And I'm going to map over it. And this map is going to be a method like this. And inside of this is where I'm going to create an arrow function. And this is going to look just like this. I'm going to return a specific design that I want. And inside of here, I'm going to say touchable. Let me just see what I'm working with right here. Opacity. And this is going to look like this. Let me just check to see everything is working properly. It says every child in a list should have a unique key. And to fix that, you can just say key is index. And that is all. After this, you're going to say it says index doesn't exist. And that's because I'm yet to do this. And that should work fine. Let me just check, as you can see. And after this, I want to have a class name, and the class name is going to say flex items of center space y of 1. Save that. And inside of this, I'm going to have a view, and the view here is going to say class name of rounded of full. And just after this, I'm going to have an image, and inside of this image is going to be a source, and this is going to be matches dot img url. And it seems these matches doesn't exist, and that's because I don't need two curly braces right here. I only need one. Save that, and that error should disappear straight away. Image doesn't exist. I was expecting that because I am yet to import my image. Just after this, I'm going to say the style for this is going to be width, and the width is going to be coming from HP of 6, and the height as well is going to be coming from HP of 6. And we should see our image right here. As you can see, the images are already showing up. And just after this, I'm going to say the class name is going to be rounded of full, and that is going to round all my images. And just after this view, I'm going to have a text, and the text is going to say matches dot name, and it's going to have the following properties. Class name is going to be text of neutral, and the neutral is dash 800. Let me just scroll up. Then after this, I'm going to say font is going to be bold. Once that is ready, I will also say after this, I want to say the style for this is going to be based on a specific font size, and the font size is going to be HP of 1.6, and that is shaping up already. Let me just remove this text. I don't need it at all. And just after this text, I'm also going to copy this, put this right here, and this is not going to be matches.name but matches.age. And also, I think we are good to go. Let me just check my design. Okay, that works. So next thing I want to create is this search input right here. So instead of my chart screen, just under here, I'm going to say I want to have my search bar, and I'm going to say the view here is going to be class name It's going to be mx of 4, margin top of 6, flex of row, items of center rounded of 2xl, bg of neutral of 200, px is going to be 3, py is going to be 5. And let me just change this to 2 by the way. And after this, I'm going to say the text input is going to have the following properties. The placeholder, which is the most important thing, is going to be called search. The placeholder text color is going to be, let me just change this, placeholder text color is going to be gray. Also, I'm going to say the style for this is going to be font size, and the font size is going to be HP of 1.7. Save that. And which error is this throwing? Placeholder in shadow. I'm not doing any of that. Placeholder text color is what I'm only fixing. Let's just continue with our styling. This class name is going to be flex of 1. Text is going to be base. Margin bottom is going to be 1. Padding left is going to be 1. Tracking is going to be widest. And let me just go to my app navigation, change this to welcome, reload my app, and this should fix the issue I'm having. Now in my chat screen, I think my text input is ready, but I still need to have a view here. And this view is going to have a magnifying glass icon just like this. And this is going to have the following properties. Size is going to be HP of 2.5. The color is going to be of gray. Stroke width of 3. That works. Let me just make sure I have all these imported already. And it seems I have. Let me just select this and click on my chart. And you can see my search inputs right here. So the next thing I want to create is this chart area right here. I'm just going to say chart list. Then I'm going to say I want a view here. And the class name is going to be px of 4. Then I want to have the chart header, and the view here is going to be class name of border bottom, border of neutral of say 300, py is going to be 4, and the text here is going to just be chart. And it seems I'm doing the wrong thing right here. Let me just cut all of this and put this right here. This is where I want it. And this chart text is going to have the following class name: uppercase, font of semi bold, text of neutral, and the neutral is going to be 500. Tracking is going to be of wider. Then the main thing we are going to have here is this chart area, which is going to be using flat list. So after this view, I'm just going to say I want to use a flat list, and this is going to take some properties. And the most important property is going to take is going to be a data, and I'm going to be importing our chart data from our constants that we have created before. And right here, I'm going to say the key extractor, which is also used for getting the unique key. I'm just going to create an arrow function inside of this by saying item dot id dot id dot to string, and this is going to be item. So let's just select this, click on the chart, and head back to our app navigation and just fix this. In my chart screen, right here, the next property I'm going to have is going to be a render item, and this is going to look like an arrow function, just like this. And here I'm going to destructure the item we are getting from each of the properties. And right here I'm going to have a touchable, opacity, and this is going to look like this. And the class name is going to be width of full, padding y of 3, items of center, flex of row, border of b, border of neutral 300. Save that. And you can see all of the data having a border bottom. So after this, I'm going to say also after this, I want to have an on press right here, and the on press is basically going to have an arrow function as well, but this is going to be navigation dot navigate dot navigate. I don't have this navigation created yet, but I will in a second. Now I want to pass some details to the chart details screen, and this is how to do that. I'm going to say the chart is going to be item.chart. So in our data, we have an item.chart, and we're going to rename this item.chart to chart. And also I have an img URL, and this is going to be item.img URL. Also, I want the name to be item.name. Age is going to be item.age. Save that. And next I want to have is all these images and name right here. So after or inside of this, just scroll up a little bit, and I'm going to have an avatar right here. And just after this, I'm going to say I want a view right here, and this view is going to have the following properties. The class name is going to be width of 17%. Justify is going to be center. Then inside of this is going to be the style, and the width is going to be HP of 7. Also the height is going to be HP of 7, and it seems we don't have our HP in our components. Let me just check once again if we have our HP. We have it. Why is this throwing an error? Okay, it is not. So after this, so instead of this, I want to have my image, and I'm just going to import this right away. And the source for this image is going to be item.img URL, and the style is going to be the width is going to be of 90%. Also the height is going to be of 90%. Then finally I want to have a class name that we have rounded of full. You see our chart image show up any moment from now, as you can see them right here. Then just under this view, I want to have the information about the chart, and I'm just going to say I want a view here, and this view is going to have the following class name, which is going to be 82%. Let me just scroll up, and just after this I'm going to say the style is going to be height, and the height is going to be HP of 6. And inside of this view I'm going to say I want another view, and this view is going to have the following class name. It's going to be flex of row, justify of between items of center. Let me just check my chart components. And after this, I want to have another view, and the class name is going to be flex of row, justify center. And after this view as well, the class name is going to be flex of row, and the text here is going to be class name of font of bold, text of base. And this text, I'm just going to check something. I'm going to say item dot name is the text that should have here, as you can see it right here. Also, I want to have just a comma and a space right here. Then after this, I also want to have a text, and the class name for this is going to be font of bold, text of base, margin right of 1. And inside of this text, I'm just going to say item dot age, which is show the user's age. And after of this view, I want to check if the user is online. I'm going to say if item dot is online is true, then that is when I want to show a particular component. And inside of here, I'm going to say I want a view. And let me just do this once again. Now I'm just going to say class name is going to be justify of center, items of center. And inside of this, I'm also going to have another view. Let me just close this way. And the class name for this is going to be width of 2, height of 2, background of a custom color, which is F26322. And after this, I'm going to say rounded of full, margin left of 1, justify of center. And you're going to see our online icon right here. So the user is online, she's online, she's online, she's not, she's online. And next thing I want to do is create this text right here and also this minute right here. So after of this view, I'm just going to say I want to have another text, and this text is going to say item dot time sent, and this is going to have the following class name. It's going to be text of sm, tracking of tight. Save that. And if you check my chart right here, you should see the time right here. And finally, after this view, I'm going to have another view here, and this text is going to say, let me just scroll up. This text is going to say item dot last message if the length is greater than 45, because in some cases we have a long last message text. I just want to show a specific message length, and I'm going to slice it from 0 to 45, and I'm going to add plus sign here. I'm going to add 3 dots, save this, and I'm going to say else I want to show item dot last message. Save that, and you see our last message pops in right here. So inside of this text, I want to have the following class name. I want to have a font of semi bold, text of extra small, text of neutral, and the neutral is going to be 500, and we should be good to go. But it seems we have a little tiny design issue right here, which we are going to fix just so it looks like this. So let me just check once again and see what we are doing wrong. And okay, it seems the design issue is coming from, let me just check once again. We have this component right here showing the age and this. Let me just change this to between, and let me see how that looks. Yes, this looks just like what we have right here. So we are done with this design, and the next design we're going to be working with is our chart detail screen. And let me just enter my chart detail screen right here. So this chart detail screen. So right here, this is the design we'll be creating for our chart detail screen. So whenever you click on basket, you're going to see the chart detail screen and all of this chart information, and you're going to be able to use all these icons to spice up your chart detail screen. So without further delay, let's jump into creating this wonderful UI design. So to start with this chart detail screen, all we have to do is just change all of this to save area view, and let me just remove this. And next thing I want to do is have a class name right here, and the class name is going to be justify of center, items of center, and this is going to be relative, and also bg of white. Save that, and if you select each of these, it says navigation doesn't exist in my chart screen. That is pretty cool. So let me just check. So I'm using my navigation right here, and I have to also use it right here. Let me check my home screen. It seems I don't have it as well. So let me just right here, I'm just going to say navigation const navigation is assigned to use navigation from React Native navigation, and has been imported right here. So in my charts, if I click on Betty, it says navigation still doesn't exist. Okay, I think I have a typo right here. So click this again, and you're going to see the chart details screen. So let me just close the matches. Even the home screen, let me close it. So in my chart details screen, I'm also going to have a style here, and the style is going to be padding. Top is going to be, if it is Android, then you're going to use HP of 4, else you're going to use 0. Let me just import our height percentage to DP. Let me put this here, and also bring in our Android platform variable. Paste this right here and import this from React Native, and this should work right away. Good. Then after this, I'm going to say I want an header, and this header is going to say I want a view, and this view is going to have the following class name. Going to say justify of between, items of center, flex of row, width of full, px of 4, padding bottom of 2, border of B, which is basically the border bottom. Let's give it a color too. We're just going to say bottom or border of 5 or 400 instead. Then inside of this view, I'm going to say I want this arrow right here. So I'm just going to say I want an arrow like this. And after this, I'm going to say I want a touchable opacity. And let me just scroll up. After this, I'm going to say the class name is going to be width of 2/3. Flex is going to be of row. Items is going to be of center. And after this, I want to have an unpress as well. Let me just create, let me head back to my chart right here. Bring this in. Bring this here. and also import this before it throws an error, and it seems it did. And moving on, I'm just going to say inside of this I want to have an on press, and the on press is going to be navigating to this navigation dot navigate, and this is going to be going to my chart screen, which is also the same as going back. So inside of this chevron icon, sorry, inside of this touchable opacity, I'm going to have a chevron. I'm going to have a chevron left icon, and it's going to have the following properties. The size is going to be HP of 2.5, and also the color is going to be of black, and also the stroke width is going to be 2. Save that, and you can see the back icon right there. The next thing I want to have is going to be a date avi, which is basically their avi right here. So I'm going to say this is going to be a view as well, and this view is going to have the class name property of border of 2, rounded of full, border of red 400, margin right of 2, margin left of 4. And inside of this view I'm going to have an image, and let me just import that right away. And inside of this I'm going to have a source, and the source is going to be img_url, and this img_url will be coming from our params here, because all the data we are passing from all of these charts we are passing to the next screen, but we still also need to catch those data. And I'm just going to catch that data here by saying const the chart img_url, the name, and also the age, which are all the data we are passing from the previous screens. I'm just going to say params, and I'm just going to destructure routes like this. And once I click this, you should see the image right here. Let's just give this a proper styling, and this image is going to have, I'm going to say style is going to be width is going to be HP of 4.5. Also the height is going to be HP of also 4.5. Save that, and finally the class name is going to be rounded of full. Let me just check this and see what we are doing. As you can see, this is what we want right here. After this view, let me just scroll up. I also want to have a view, and this view is going to have a class name, and it's going to be justify of center items of stats. And inside of this view I'm going to have a text, and the class name for this text is going to be font of bold, text of base, and this is going to be name, and you should see the name right here. And after this also I want to have just this curly braces, double quote, and this comma right here, as you can see. And after this I want to have an age, and after this I think I have to only set one more thing, which is basically after this, and this is going to be the ellipse icon, which you can see right here. Then after this I'm going to say I want a view, and the class name is going to be width of 1/3, items is going to fall to end. And inside of this view I'm going to also have another view, and the class name is going to be bg black over 5. Rounded is going to be of full. Padding left is going to be 1. And finally, I'm going to have the main ellipse icon right here. I'm going to say ellipse horizontal icon, and this is going to be, the size is going to be of 3, or instead let's use our HP method of 3 right here. And after this, I'm going to say the color is going to be black, and let me just remove this right away. And also I don't need double quotes right here. Let me just check if my HP exists, and it does. Let me just click this, and you can see my ellipse icon sitting pretty right there. And final thing I just want to add here is the stroke width, and this is going to be 2. Save that, and this is going to look really cool. Then the next thing I want to create is the chart details itself, and I'm just going to scroll up and say this as a view, and the view is having a class name, and the class name is going to be width of full, height of full, and the text right here is going to be class name of text of center. Text is going to be neutral 400. Padding top is going to be 4, and inside of this text I'm going to say today is going to be text that will be there. And let me just remove this first and see what we are working with. And my text should be here, by the way. And why am I not seeing that? Let's just continue working on our code, and maybe I should just move all of this after this. And good, that is my today text right there. So after this, I'm just going to say I want a flat list. Inside of this flat list is where we're going to map through all of our charts right here. And the first thing first we have to do is say the data is going to be coming from charts. We already have that picked from the previous screen. And we're going to say the key extractor is going to be an arrow function, but it is going to have a property here. It's going to be item, an index, and also I'm going to say index dot to string, and this is going to look just like this. And I'm going to say the content container style is going to look like padding, and the bottom padding is going to be HP of 15, and the render item is going to be an arrow function as well. And the arrow function, I'm just going to destructure the individual item that we have right here, and inside of this I'm going to have a view, and that should look like this. Then inside of this view I want to have a style. So inside of this style right here, as you can see right here, you have all of my messages on the right, and you have my date message on the left. And I'm going to fix this using flex direction. So if I am the one sending the message, my message should be on the right, and likewise for the date is going to be on the left. So to do that, I'm just going to say flex direction. If the item dot sender is strictly equal to me, then you are just going to say row reverse, else you're just going to say basically row. Save that, and let's just check our chart once again. And once we start mapping through all our charts, you're going to see what I'm working on. You're going to see the padding is going to be 10. Padding vertical is going to be if item dot sender is strictly equal to me as well, Then I want the padding vertical to be 13, else I want it to be 3. And moving on, I'm going to have another view inside of this view. Inside of Avian, there's another Avian. So the style here, I'm just going to say the style is going to be width, and the width is going to be auto. And also I'm going to say, the max width is going to be item. Then if the item dot sender is strictly equal to me, then I'm going to say this is going to be 70%. Else this is going to be, let's just say, at the end of the day, let's just use a fixed max width of 70%. And don't worry, we're going to map through all our chart data any moment from now. You're going to see what I'm working on. So after or inside of this view as well, we're going to say I want a view, and this view is going to look like this. I'm going to say the style. Nope, I don't want all of this. The style is going to be border bottom right radius. Then if the item dot sender is me, then just use border bottom right radius of 0, else use 10. And this right here, this is what I'm fixing right here, as you can see this right here. Anyway, let me just quickly add the message so that you can see what I'm really working on. So item dot message, click on this, select this, and it says text strings must be rendered within a text. Don't mind me, I'm rendering all of this text inside of a view. Let me just cut this, put this inside of this, and let's just check our charts. As you can see, all my charts. Now I want to give this a proper styling. After this, I'm also going to copy this as well, paste this, but this is going to be left radius, and this is going to be 10, and this is going to be 0. Now a background color is going to look like, let me just copy all of this, paste this right here. And if the item dot sender is me, I want to use a specific background color, and that is going to be ash 171717. Else I want to use ash 3B82F6. Save that, and you see my background color any moment from now. As you can see, my background color right here. Moving on, I'm going to say the padding is going to be 10 for all items. Let me just cut this, and after this, let me just put this right here. As you can see, the chart is setting up properly. Then I'm going to say the border radius is going to be 10. Then inside of this text, I want to also style it by saying class name is going to be text of white, text of base, leading of 5. And you see my chart looking just like what I have right here. Also, I want to render this timestamp that you have right here. So after the view here, I'm going to say if item dot sender is strictly equal to me, then I want to show a component, and this component is basically going to show a text, and this text is basically going to say item dot time stamp. Save that, and this text is going to have the following class name. As you can see, it's right here, this timestamp for just the messages I sent. And the class name is going to be text of XX, font of semi bold, text of neutral 500, and text of right. Save that, and this is going to set up properly. And after this, I also want to have a text here that says read. and you can see this read right here. And finally, I want to have this bottom tab right here. As you can see, this text input and this icon. So after this, I'm just going to say bottom text input and icon. Save that. And after this, I'm going to have a view, and the view we have the following property. Class name is going to be absolute flex of row, justify of between, items of center, width of full, padding x of 4, padding bottom of 12, padding top of 2. Let me just save that. And also background of white, bottom of 0. And inside of this view, let me just see what I'm working on, and let me see if there's no issue right here. Let me just go back, click on basket, and it seems there's a major issue right here. Let me just continue working on my design, and I think I just need to remove all of this and have this right here instead. And I think that is what I basically want. So inside of this, I'm going to say I want a view again, and the class name is going to be flex of row, items of center, rounded of 2xl, bg of neutral of 200, px is going to be 3, py is going to be 3 as well, width is going to be 85%. And inside of this view, I want to have a text input from React Native. Let me just scroll up. And inside of this, I'm going to say, as you can see, my text input background is already shaping up. I'm just going to say the placeholder is going to be write your message here. And after this, I'm going to say the placeholder text color is going to be gray. And the style is going to be a font size of HP of 1.7. And after this, I'm going to say the font weight is basically going to be of medium. Save that. Let me now check my individual messages. As you can see, it is coming up gradually, as you can see it right here. But I want to have these two icons inside of it. So after this, I'm just going to have another view. And this view is going to say class name. This is going to be flex of row, justify of center, items of center, space x of 1. Let me just scroll up. And here I'm going to say photo icon from React Hero icons. The color is going to be of gray. The stroke width is going to be 2, as you can see it right here. And after this as well, I want to have another icon called face smile icon from Hero icons, and the size is going to be HP of 2.5. The color is going to be of gray, and the stroke width, let me just fix the stroke width right here. It is going to be 2 as well. And the final thing I want to have is this send button right here. So I'm just going to say I want to have a view, and the class name for this view is going to be bg of blue, and the blue is going to be 500, rounded of 2xl, padding y of 3, Width is going to be 13%. Justify is going to be center. Items is also going to be center as well. Let me just check what I am doing. As you can see, this is what I'm creating right here, but it is not going to be inside of this. Let me just cut this out, and it has to be outside of this, and that is where I want that. And I'm just going to say paper airplane icon, and the only thing I want to add here is basically color, and the color is going to be white. That is all I want to add. As you can see, this looks just like what we have here, but we have a tiny design issue here, which is basically just a find of between. So let me just scroll up right here inside my text input. So to fix this, all I have to do is come here and say justify of between, and that should look just like what we have right here. And this component is complete, and it seems I have just this text right here which says you match today. And let me just go up where I have that name, and let me just check right here. I think this is where I have my name and age. So just under this, I'm going to have a text, and this text is going to say you matched today, and the class name is going to be text of extra small, text of neutral 400, and save that. And you can see the you match today text right here. So let's just go back, click on Sophie. We're going to see our messages with Sophie, and the same with William, and the same goes on and on for the remaining. And for Betty, we have all these cool icons right here. And yes, that is what we want to create for these chat details. And you can even scroll up to see all the messages you have, and in some cases you might even use this design to create a WhatsApp clone or some of these messengers clone. And this is how the basics of their app is set up, as you can see right here. So the next screen I want to work on is the profile screen. I'm just going to get into my profile screen, and right here, this is the design I want to create for this profile screen. It is just this basic simple text and image. So right here, I'm just going to say this is going to be a scroll view. Let me just remove that, and let me click on my profile right here. As you can see, the profile screen. Now after that, I want to create a class name, and the class name is going to be a relative bg of white flex of 1. Then inside of this, I want to have the container style to be padding bottom, and this is going to be HP of 5. Let me just import that very quick. So I'm just going to copy, let me even copy all of this, but I don't think I need the navigation right here. But anyway, let me just put this right here, and let me check my profile once again. Then inside of this, I want to have an image, and before I use my image, I just want to import the data that we're using. And remember, you imported some images before or some data before, and this is going to say profile data from constant. And also I'm going to say const data is going to be profile data, and I'm going to use the first data in that array. And these images, I can say image, and I'm just going to import these from React Native. And let me just go back to my profile. And right here, the source of the image is going to be data dot img url. And after this, I'm going to say the style for this is going to be width is going to be coming from wp of 100. I don't think I have that imported yet. Let me just create that as well. I'm just going to say width percentage to dp as wp. Save that, and after this, I'm going to say the height is going to be HP of 60. Let me just check my image. As you can see, this image looks like just what we have right here. Moving on, I'm going to say the border left radius is going to be 30, and also the border right radius is also going to be 30, and this will give our image this cool look. And normally I'm supposed to have my image inside of a view, so let me just cut this and put this right here. And I'm going to create this header next, as you can see. So I'm just going to say header, save that. Let's head back into our profile screen, and it says it must be rendered inside of a text. And what are we rendering inside of a text? We are not rendering anything. Okay, let me just remove this. Let's just check our profile once again. Yes. So let me just scroll up and say inside of this view, I'm going to have a class name. And the class name for this is going to be width of full, absolute, flex of row, justify of end, items of center, padding top of 10. And inside of this view also I want to have another view, and the class name is going to be padding of 2, rounded of full, bg black over 40, margin right of 5, justify of center, and I want to have a camera icon just like I have it right here. So inside of this I'm just going to say camera icon. Let me just see, camera icon is coming from outline right here, and this is going to say size is going to be HP of 3.5, and after this the color is going to be of white, and after this the stroke width is going to be 1.5, and you're going to see our camera icon right here. Moving on, I'm going to have my bow right here, and this is going to say a view, and the class name is going to be flex of row space x of 2, justify of between, width of full, items of center. Then inside of this view I want to also have another view. Inside that your avian, another avian day inside, so let's just say flex of row, and this is going to say text, and this text is basically going to say data dot name. As you can see our name right here. Let me just remove this text and give this the following properties. Class name is going to be text of black, text of center, font of bold, text of extra large, and I think that is what I want. Let me just duplicate this by the way, and I'm going to say this one is data.age, and that is what I want that to look like. But after this I still want to have something like this, and I think I am good to go. But I want to wrap everything inside of a view, and I just want to come down here and say the class name for this is going to be width of full, justify of start, items is also going to be of start, padding x is going to be of 6, space y is going to be of 4, margin top is going to be of 6, and that is what I want, basically just like this. So let's undo all these hobbies right here. We're going to be mapping through all the hobbies that we have in our data. So after this text, after this view, I want to have this edit text right here. So after this view, I'm just going to say I want a text, a basic text that says edit, and that is all what I want. I'm going to see the edit right here. And after this view right here, I'm going to say I want hobbies. And this hobbies, I'm going to have a view. And let me just refactor that to be view. And inside of this view, I'm going to say I want to have another view. And this view is going to have the following class name. It's going to be flex of row. And inside of this, I'm going to say data.hobbies dot map, and I just want to use a ternary string right here, and this is going to have an arrow function inside of it, and this is going to have a view, and the key is going to be index, and the next thing I'm going to have here is going to be the style, and the style is going to be border radius, and this is going to be of 20. Let's just check what we are building, and it seems we have a major issue right here. And why is that? Let me just fix this. It seems we don't have this right here. An index, save that. Let's just continue working on our code, and let me just open the Expo app once again, and the error was thrown because we don't have this set up properly. Now after this, I want to have a padding of 5, padding horizontal of 10, and also margin right, and that is going to be 5. Let me just head into my app navigation, change this pretty quick, and click on date, and this is going to open my app. So in my profile screen, under this as well, I'm going to say I want a class name, and the class name is going to be bg, and the bg is going to be hash. It's going to be d3 save that, and it says metro, and this is out of sync. Let me just reload this by the way, and that should keep it both in sync. Let me minimize this, and inside of this view I want to have a text right here, and this text is going to say hobby, basically hobby. And let me just click on get started, click on profile, and you can see all my hobbies looking pretty right here. I'm just going to have a class name here that says text of black over 10, and maybe I should just put over 70. I don't want it to be too black. Then after all of this, after this view as well, I'm just going to have a user bio, and after this I'm just going to say I want a text right here, and the text is basically going to say bio, and it's going to have the following class name. I don't want this. I want an uppercase, font of semi bold, text of neutral, and neutral is going to be 500. Tracking is going to be wider. Margin bottom is going to be 2, and that is what I want for my bio, as you can see it right here. Moving on, I want to also have a text just like this, or let me just create it myself. And this text is going to say data.bio, and I'm just going to say class name is going to be text black over 80. Text is going to be left. Font is going to be medium. Text is going to be SM, and you can see my bio right here. And that is pretty much everything for our component right here, and our profile screen is ready. And let's just do a recap of what we just did. So we have our home screen right here, and you can scroll through all the dates that you have right here. You can see their images, their name, their age, their country, and all. And all these images, guys, they are coming from pixels.com. So big shout out to all these creators giving us these amazing images. And also, you can check on Splash for some of these images as well. That is the source for all my images. And if you check your chart section as well, you're going to see all these matches right here, which are quite a lot, or not too much, by the way. And you have your chart right here. And if you click on Betty right here, you're going to see all the full information about Betty's chart with you. And if you click on back, you click on this again, you're going to see all the charts with basket, and that is what we created for that functionality. Finally, for our profile screen, you have just a basic profile screen right here, and you have just this text right here. And that brings us to the end of this build. If you enjoy this build, please give this a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section if you want me to build more of this cool React Native app, or if you have any idea in mind that you want me to build, please drop them in the comment section below, and I'm definitely going to build what you want me to build for you guys. So that will be all for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do, I'm happy for you, and I wish you a wonderful day.